Look at her, acting all innocent. Amanda's voice cut through the silence at our weekly family dinner. While precious family heirlooms keep disappearing whenever she visits, my sister-in-law's accusation hung heavy in the air as all eyes turned to me. My name is Eleanor Mitchell, and at 34, I found myself the target of a calculated campaign to destroy my reputation within my husband's close-knit family. It started small. A missing silver spoon here, a vintage brooch there. Items that had been in the family for generations began vanishing from my mother-in-law's carefully curated collection. "I don't know what you're talking about," I said quietly, gripping my napkin under the table. My husband James sat beside me, his face a mask of confusion as he looked between his sister and me. "The Victorian necklace disappeared right after you helped Mom organize her jewelry box," Amanda continued, her perfectly manicured finger pointing at me accusingly. "And now Grandma Rose's music box is gone too. Quite a coincidence, don't you think?" I felt my mother-in-law Margaret's disappointed gaze boring into me. Over the past 5 years, I'd worked hard to build a relationship with her, to prove I was worthy of her only son. Now, with each of Amanda's words, I could see that relationship crumbling. "That's ridiculous," James started, but Amanda wasn't finished. "Is it, James? Haven't you noticed how our family pieces keep vanishing whenever your wife is around? She probably sells them online. Have you checked her browsing history?" The suggestion that I would steal from my own family made my blood boil. But before I could defend myself, Margaret spoke up. "The emerald earrings my mother left me disappeared last month," she said softly, her voice trembling. "Right after Eleanor helped me clean the master bedroom." I stared at her in disbelief. "Margaret, I would never." "Show us your phone," Amanda demanded, standing up. "Let's see your selling history right now." "I don't have to prove anything to you," I replied, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "I haven't taken anything." "See?" Amanda's triumphant smile made my stomach turn. She won't even defend herself. Guilt written all over her face. The next few weeks were a nightmare. Amanda's accusations spread through the family like wildfire. Cousins stopped inviting us to gatherings. Aunts clutched their purses tighter when I walked by. Even James's father, normally my strongest supporter, began giving me doubtful looks. James tried to stand by me, but I could see the seed of doubt Amanda had planted growing in his mind. "Maybe if you just let them check your phone," he suggested one evening, "just to clear the air." I shouldn't have to prove my innocence, I snapped, hurt that he would even consider his sister's accusations. "I'm your wife, James. Don't you know me at all?" The final straw came during the preparation for the annual family reunion. Margaret called to tell me it might be better if I didn't attend this year. Her voice was apologetic but firm. "Some family members are uncomfortable having their valuables around you," she explained. "I'm sure you understand." I sat in my car after that call, tears streaming down my face. 5 years of building relationships, of trying to fit into this family, destroyed by Amanda's lies. But why? What did she gain from all this? The answer came unexpectedly one rainy Tuesday. I was driving home from work when I took a wrong turn, ending up in an unfamiliar industrial area. As I turned around in a storage facility's parking lot, something caught my eye. Amanda's distinctive red Mercedes parked near one of the units. I pulled into a spot, watching as my sister-in-law struggled with several large boxes. She was dressed in her usual designer outfit, looking out of place among the rows of storage units. Something about her secretive behavior set off alarm bells in my mind. Making sure she couldn't see me, I waited until she left before approaching the unit. The padlock was new, the unit number matching the one written on the box she'd been carrying. I took several photos with my phone, including close-ups of the unit number and Amanda's car leaving the facility. That evening, I did something I'd never done before. I started digging into Amanda's life. Social media posts, public records, anything I could find. What emerged was a pattern I hadn't noticed before. Every time she accused me of stealing something, she posted cryptic messages about new treasures and vintage finds on her private Instagram account. I hired a private investigator, Sarah Maxwell, who specialized in family disputes. "Classic projection," she said after hearing my story. "She's accusing you of exactly what she's doing herself. But we need proof." "The storage unit," I suggested. "Everything has to be there." Sarah nodded, already typing on her laptop. "Leave it to me. I'll get the evidence you need." A week later, Sarah called with news that made my heart race. "I've got it," she said, her voice excited. "The unit's registered under her maiden name. I've documented multiple visits, always carrying boxes in, never out. And here's the kicker, she's behind on payments. The facility is planning to auction the unit next month." I gripped my phone tighter, a plan forming in my mind. "Can you find out exactly when?" "Already did," Sarah replied. "July 15th. Want me to make sure your family knows about it?" I thought about Margaret's disappointed face, about James's wavering trust, about Amanda's smug accusations. "No," I said finally. "I have a better idea. Let them find out when the unit opens." For the first time in months, I felt hope replacing the hurt and anger. Amanda had spent so long weaving her web of lies, she'd forgotten one crucial thing. The truth always finds its way out. As I hung up the phone, I couldn't help but smile. July 15th couldn't come soon enough. The next few weeks were a careful dance of patience and preparation. Sarah kept me updated on Amanda's movements while I maintained my distance from the family, playing the role of the shamed outcast perfectly. Every time Amanda visited her storage unit, Sarah documented it with photos and videos. During one of our coffee meetings, Sarah showed me something interesting. "Look at this," she said, sliding her tablet across the table. I ran a background check on Amanda's finances. She's been making regular payments to multiple storage facilities across the city. My eyebrows shot up as I scrolled through the documents. 5 different units? Why would she need so many? My guess? Sarah leaned forward, lowering her voice. "She's not just stealing from your family. This could be a pattern going back years." The revelation hit me like a thunderbolt. I remembered holiday gatherings at friends' homes where Amanda had helped organize, only to hear later about missing items. Even her ex-husband's family had mentioned disappearing heirlooms after their divorce. "She's a collector," I breathed, finally understanding. "She's not selling anything. She's keeping it all." Sarah nodded grimly. "It's more common than you'd think. Some people become obsessed with possessing family heirlooms, especially if they feel entitled to them." A memory surfaced. Amanda's face when Margaret had shown me her mother's jewelry collection for the first time. The barely concealed rage when Margaret mentioned leaving certain pieces to me in her will. She can't stand that I might inherit anything, I realized. This whole thing isn't just about stealing. It's about making sure I'm cut out of the family entirely. As July approached, I noticed Amanda becoming increasingly agitated. She started making mistakes. Twice, Sarah caught her attempting to move items between storage units late at night. Once, she left a storage receipt in Margaret's house, though she quickly retrieved it before anyone else saw. The family, meanwhile, remained firmly under her spell. Margaret had stopped calling altogether. James's father avoided eye contact at chance meetings in town. Even James seemed distant, spending more time at work and less time at home. One evening, I found him staring at old family photos. "I just don't understand," he muttered, more to himself than to me. "You've always loved my family, treasured their history. Why would you do this?" I wanted to tell him everything, to show him Sarah's evidence, but I knew he needed to see the truth for himself. Instead, I simply said, "Sometimes things aren't what they seem," and left him to his thoughts. 2 weeks before the auction, Amanda made her biggest mistake. She hosted a family dinner, proudly showing off what she claimed was a recent antique store find, a distinctive Art Nouveau vase. I recognized it immediately as one of the pieces Margaret had reported missing months ago. I casually took a photo of it, pretending to admire its design. Later that night, I forwarded the picture to Sarah, who added it to our growing file of evidence. "She's getting cocky," Sarah observed. "She probably thinks she's won, that no one will ever connect the dots." The week of the auction, I carefully set my plan in motion. I had Sarah accidentally let slip to one of Margaret's bridge club friends about the storage auction. As expected, the gossip spread quickly through the family grapevine. Amanda's panic was immediate and visible. She showed up at our house unannounced, more disheveled than I'd ever seen her. "You know something," she accused, her perfectly maintained facade cracking. "What have you done?" I met her gaze calmly. "I haven't done anything, Amanda. Isn't that what you've been telling everyone?" She left in a fury, her tires screeching on our driveway. Within hours, my phone was buzzing with messages from family members. Amanda had apparently gone on a rampage, accusing me of setting her up, of plotting against her. Her hysteria only served to make people curious about what could be in that storage unit. The day before the auction, James finally broke his silence. "What's really going on, Eleanor?" he asked, his voice tired. "Amanda's acting strange. Everyone's whispering about some storage unit and you're just calm." I took his hand, squeezing it gently. "Come to the auction tomorrow," I said softly. "See for yourself." That night, I barely slept, thinking about what the next day would bring. Years of Amanda's careful deception were about to unravel. Part of me felt sorry for her. What kind of pain drives someone to not only steal from their family, but to systematically destroy someone else's reputation in the process? The morning of July 15th dawned bright and clear. Sarah called early to report that Amanda had been at the storage facility since dawn, trying to convince the manager to let her pay the overdue balance. Unfortunately for her, the auction had already been legally advertised and couldn't be canceled. I arrived early, parking where I could see the unit but remain relatively unnoticed. One by one, family members began to arrive. Margaret and her husband came first, then various aunts and uncles. James arrived alone, standing apart from the others, his face tense with anticipation. Amanda showed up last, her designer clothes wrinkled, her hair uncombed. When she saw the gathered family, she froze, her face draining of color. "What are you all doing here?" she demanded, her voice shrill. "This is private property." "Not anymore," the facility manager announced, stepping forward with his keys. "Unit 247 is up for auction due to non-payment. Standard procedure is to inventory the contents before bidding begins." As he moved toward the unit, Amanda made a desperate lunge for him. "You can't. Those things are mine. I just need more time to pay." Two security guards gently but firmly held her back as the manager unlocked the door. The metal rattled as he lifted it, revealing what lay within. The silence that followed was deafening. There, carefully arranged on industrial shelving, sat every single stolen heirloom from the past year. Margaret's emerald earrings, Grandma Rose's music box, the Victorian necklace, even the Art Nouveau vase Amanda had tried to pass off as a recent purchase. But that wasn't all. The unit was packed with items I'd never seen before, each tagged and dated. Family treasures going back years, all meticulously organized and documented in Amanda's own handwriting. Margaret's sob broke the silence. "My mother's wedding china," she whispered, stepping forward. "You told me the movers broke it during the last house move." The dam had broken. Family members began calling out items they thought lost forever, each revelation adding to the growing horror of Amanda's deception. I stood back, watching as years of careful lives crumbled around my sister-in-law. James moved to stand beside me, his hand finding mine. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. "I should have believed you." Amanda, seeing her carefully constructed world falling apart, did the only thing she could think of. She ran. The aftermath of the storage unit revelation was like watching dominoes fall in slow motion. As Amanda fled the scene, Margaret sank to her knees among her recovered treasures, tears streaming down her face as she cradled her mother's china. Family members moved through the unit in stunned silence, identifying pieces they thought lost forever. The facility manager, witnessing the unfolding drama, agreed to postpone the auction after James explained the situation. Sarah appeared with documentation proving the item's rightful ownership, and slowly, methodically, we began the process of returning everything to its proper place. "There's so much here," Margaret whispered, as we carefully wrapped each piece. "Not just our things, but items I don't recognize." She held up an antique silver frame. "This belongs to the Hendersons. They were our neighbors 5 years ago." The revelation that Amanda's theft extended beyond family opened another chapter of complications. Sarah helped compile a comprehensive inventory, and the police became involved. Detective Wilson, a compassionate officer specializing in family crimes, took charge of the case. "This is more common than you'd think," she explained as we documented each item. "Sometimes it's about money, but more often it's about control and possession. Your sister-in-law appears to have been collecting these items for years." The next few weeks were a blur of activity. News spread through our small community, and more families came forward to claim items they thought lost. Amanda had disappeared completely. Her house stood empty, her phone disconnected. She even cleaned out her bank accounts before vanishing. James struggled the most with the truth about his sister. "I should have seen it," he said one night as we lay in bed. "All those times she accused you, she was so specific about what was missing." How could she have known unless she took the items herself? I squeezed his hand. She knew exactly what she was doing. She used your trust in her to blind you to the truth. The family's attitude toward me shifted dramatically. Apologies poured in, along with invitations to dinners and events. Margaret, in particular, seemed determined to make amends. She invited me to lunch one afternoon, just the two of us. I failed you, she said, her eyes welling with tears. I let Amanda manipulate me into doubting someone who has only ever shown love for this family. Can you ever forgive me? I reached across the table and took her hand. There's nothing to forgive. Amanda was your daughter. Of course you wanted to believe her. But you're my daughter too, she insisted. And I forgot that when it mattered most. The healing process was gradual. Trust, once broken, takes time to rebuild. But slowly, the family began to come together again, stronger for having weathered this storm. The empty chair at family dinners where Amanda used to sit served as a quiet reminder of how easily deception can tear apart relationships. 3 months after the storage unit discovery, we received news from Detective Wilson. Amanda had been located in Arizona, living under an assumed name. She'd been caught trying to talk her way into an elderly couple's home, claiming to be their long-lost granddaughter. The family had to decide whether to press charges. It was Margaret who made the final decision. She needs help, she said firmly, not just punishment. This isn't normal behavior. The court agreed. Amanda was charged but offered a plea deal that included mandatory psychiatric treatment. The evaluation revealed what some had suspected. She suffered from a severe mental disorder that manifested in compulsive collecting and manipulation. When I finally saw her again in the courthouse, she looked smaller somehow. The designer clothes and perfect makeup were gone, replaced by a simple outfit and tired eyes. I'm sorry, she said quietly, not quite meeting my gaze. I convinced myself you were the enemy, that you were trying to take my place in the family. It made stealing seem justified. I nodded, not quite ready to forgive but understanding better now. I hope you get the help you need, Amanda. The resolution wasn't as neat as in fairy tales. Amanda began treatment, but rebuilding trust would take years, if it ever happened at all. The family learned to be more open with each other, to question assumptions and communicate better. Margaret insisted on making changes to her will, establishing a clear system for family heirlooms to prevent future conflicts. She also started a tradition of monthly family meetings where concerns could be aired openly. 1 year after the storage unit revelation, we gathered for Thanksgiving. The dining room gleamed with recovered silver and china, each piece carrying a story of loss and recovery. As I helped Margaret set the table, she paused, holding Grandma Rose's gravy boat. You know, she said thoughtfully, sometimes good things come from bad situations. This whole ordeal taught me what really matters. It's not the things we inherit that make us family. It's how we treat each other. I smiled, remembering the dark days when I felt so alone. We're stronger now, I agreed, more honest with each other. James came up behind us, wrapping an arm around my waist. And more appreciative of what we have, he added, kissing my cheek. Amanda's empty chair remained at the table, but now it represented hope rather than loss. Hope that with help and time, even the deepest wounds could heal. Later that evening, as the family lingered over dessert, sharing stories and laughter, I caught Margaret watching me with tears in her eyes. What's wrong? I asked softly. She shook her head, smiling through her tears. Nothing's wrong. I was just thinking about how close we came to losing you because we couldn't see the truth. Promise me something, Eleanor. Anything. Never let anyone make you doubt your place in this family again. You're not just my son's wife. You're my daughter, and you always will be. I hugged her tightly, feeling the last pieces of hurt melt away. The storage unit revelation had done more than just expose Amanda's deception. It had shown us all the true meaning of family. As I looked around the table at these people who had doubted me and then fought to make amends, I realized that sometimes the happy ending isn't about everything being perfect. Sometimes it's about learning to love more wisely, trust more carefully, and forgive more freely. Amanda's storage unit had hidden more than just stolen heirlooms. It had concealed lessons about family, trust, and redemption that none of us would ever forget. The next morning, as I helped Margaret carefully pack away the holiday china, she handed me a small box. Inside was her mother's emerald ring, one of the pieces we'd recovered from the storage unit. This belongs to you now, she said firmly. Not because you proved yourself. You never should have had to do that. but because you showed us all what real family loyalty looks like. I slipped the ring onto my finger, a perfect fit. Like our family, not without flaws, but precious all the same.